Hi everyone, welcome to June 2024 Baker Street Property Meet. Oh my God, we're in central London, we've got the scenic view, we're ready to get over to the venue and we want to take a shot. How privileged, lucky are we to be doing this recording and add huge value to the entrepreneur journey, especially for property entrepreneurs. Don't you love Baker Street Property Meet?
Start.
Hi everyone, we're kicking off the first interview with Simon.
Hello.
Simon, nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
He's a property developer boutique, if I got that right. And also, he actually holds the property. So I was having a conversation with him. He's actually an investor that actually uplifts value to properties to hold. So that's a great aspect. Which area in the country are you focusing on?
We're actually all over. We're UK and the US.
Wow.
And we're probably in 7 locations total, I think.
Wow.
So Kent, Brighton, Cotswolds, Northumberland, Nashville, Tennessee, and Florida.
Wow, I've been to Florida. Cotswold is beautiful as well. Where have you found, what type of property strategy are you doing when you development? When I say that, what type of properties are you developing to hold on to?
Yeah, we buy land, we build,
Right.
we buy commercial property and we convert to residential. And we always try and keep the properties or keep as many as possible. And then we execute short-term rentals, so like Airbnb, Booking.com.
Wow.
So people staying for a few nights at a time.
Wow, he's mentioned a lot of value there. Loads of things. So he's doing new builds, commercial conversions, and also furnished holidays, so service accommodation. You get that right? Huge tax benefits, as he's going to ask some questions. You had some questions on this, didn't you?
Well, we were trying to discuss a little bit of capital allowances, and I think you were touching on the difference between a trading business and a asset-only holding business.
Yeah, so the difference is when you're a trading business, you're a developer, you develop the property and you sell it, right?
Yeah.
So you're buying to sell, developing to sell. Whereas if you're an investor, you buy to hold, not buy to sell. Big difference, it changes the whole tax treatment. You mentioned capital allowances. As a property developer, you can't claim capital allowances. The next person potentially can.
Sure.
As an investor, you can.
You can.
So there's difference in benefits depends on what you're doing.
Yeah.
So it changes everything. Also, depending on what you're doing. So he's mentioned commercial property conversions. So Ranjan, king of commercial, and we love commercial conversions. Today's the old bank jobs, as he's going on about. You have to have a total different understanding around structuring.
Yeah.
Because you're going from commercial and residential use. Normally that involves freeholds and leaseholds. So you have to understand that and structure it accordingly. Because if you don't, you're going to get hammered on stamp duty, land tax, potentially corporation tax, capital gains tax, and let's not even forget inheritance tax.
And I had to do a sale and leaseback because we made a mistake with some of the structuring of the commercial to residential conversion.
When you say a sale and leaseback, what did you do a sales leaseback to your pensions or?
Oh, it's kind of a long story, maybe a field video, but
okay.
I guess the point being I had to go get a specialist tax advisor to tell us how we could sell and then I think we sold the freehold to from one company to another and then lease it back, long-term lease to another one of our businesses. Kind of complicated.
It is complex and it's worth having a chat about that. I think one of the things is, and you've noticed it, getting good advice, understanding your strategy, then having the advice tailored to that strategy to make it efficient is going to help you keep a lot more of the money, right?
Definitely.
And that's the difference maker. So it seems like you're doing a lot of interesting stuff.
We're trying our best.
And obviously we're going to have someone on our socials going to get. So if you ever want some advice or understanding, I'm sure you'd be a good point of call. You're on social media, so.
Yeah, we're called House of Snaps. Please check us out.
Wow.
Instagram, Facebook.
When we put it on there, like, comment and put a link in, no more than happy. Fantastic. Thank you for talking. I really appreciate it. Great advice, great understanding of property. Hi everyone, right now we've got some members from the Certax family. They turned up to Baker Street. Ishtiaq, you've seen him before. Emaan, thank you so much. First time at Baker Street. He's a newbie. And we're going to talk about property. You've done some bank jobs. I don't mean any thieving or anything, I mean literally bank jobs. How did you do your bank job conversion?
Yeah, it came across in December 2020. The Lloyds Bank came up for sale through a SAS of somebody who didn't know what to do. I just jumped on it, and I had my vision to convert into 4 residential flat in a village.
Wow.
So that was the start of the story, and then it came into the 3 different steps: demolition, plans to refit everything, and then the utilities, and then renting it out. The biggest challenge was the sentimental value to the villagers about the bank, because some of the villagers who who live in the village actually used to work for the bank, and they had very sentimental attachment to the building. And guess what? When we applied for planning permission, we had 26 objections. But you have a good team around, you attend those objections and make that building habitable, useful for the local resident, to provide them the accommodation and the need they have for smaller, young, professional families. And they all being let out nowadays.
I'm going to unpack so much value there, Ishtiaq. So what you did, you converted a bank into 4 flats.
Yeah.
You also had issues with the locals, but this is under PD, right? So if it's under permitted development, was this, or did you change the exterior?
No, we had to, because it's a conservation area, and there were we couldn't leave any part of the building as commercial. We had to get total residential to achieve the right GDV, and so we can secure the refinancing on it, because there is no potential in that village for the commercial area.
Was it a conservation area as well?
Yes.
Right, so under the old PD rules, you had to change the bottom, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But also, you claim something called capital allowances, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Love it, and
Yeah.
that's huge. So anyone who doesn't know, watch the stuff we do on that, because that's a huge tax advantage, and good old Ranjan behind us was talking a lot about that today. So you've done that, you also got the value because of the uplift in GDV, because of conversion.
Yeah,
so what
absolutely.
was the return on GDV?
I mean, return, I bought it for, if you want to talk about the figures, so I had over 35% profit in it.
Wow,
At the
so
moment.
35% GDV?
Yeah.
Wow, and do you know why that's a big number? Because anything that goes over 30%, you can refinance back out. That's why, because you can get financing up to 70%. So you could have done a 65% LTV and made a huge difference. That's massive. One of the other things I talk about, and we got Emaan here, legacy, family legacy planning. Emaan, great to see you. First one here, Baker Street, right?
Yeah, first time.
How are you helping your dad about the family legacy planning?
Recently I just started project managing a 3-bedroom house development. It's my first project where I've been fully involved.
Wow.
So I came in from day one. I've been managing with the builders and also getting involved myself, so I can learn about all the different trades and learn about the business.
So Eman's given a great understanding of why legacy planning is so important. Because Ishtiaq, even though he looks sharp and young, unfortunately we're not all going to be here forever. So we have to think about the next generation. So his son, he's giving the understanding and getting him involved in the family business, because this is the future. So I talk about that because there's a few things that people fail on. First, the children or the legacy or the beneficiaries don't understand it. No knowledge. They don't get the knowledge, and then it ends up going down the pan. Nice as well. Secondly, obviously Ishtiaq switched on accountant tax advisor. He understands inheritance tax planning as well, because he's showing the child the value and his beneficiaries, and they're also going to appreciate it, and they're not going to sell it because they're going to know that's going to trigger tax off, and they're getting it in an efficient way. I think you had a question about 7 years gifts.
Yeah, I was
Right.
wondering how that works.
So one of the things Emaan asked about is if he gets a gift from Ishtiaq to himself, and I know Ishtiaq will answer this unbelievably well as well, what's the implications? After 7 years, it may go out of your estate for inheritance tax, but you'll get trigger capital gains tax, potentially, depending if you're doing it for shares or giving a property. That's the stinger, because it's a deemed disposal. That means at market value, even if you haven't passed the cash over. So it's not the smartest way. Now you're going to ask, what is the smartest way? I was talking about family investment companies. And if you do Certax property tax specialists, you should be going on about it. That's how we help people. Entrepreneurs need good advice about the long-term picture, legacy planning, protecting themselves, so when their beneficiaries get the stuff, they don't lose the money. And they're keeping it and they're happy. Don't you love the Baker Street property meet? It's a big difference maker. I hope you're enjoying the content.
Thank you.
As everyone knows, Baker Street Property Meet is not the same without interviewing Ranjan. Ranjan, thank you so much. And this is always called the bank job Baker Street Meet today.
Oh, the bank job, yes, yes.
So Ranjan has been highlighting all the value that he's creating, especially around converting banks. And you've done the one in Rickmansworth, right?
Yeah.
Just got a little knowledge insight on that one. So tell the audience just a little bit, which you probably have done, what's the key things, top 2-3 things that you must do when you're buying a bank?
Well, I think you've got to have a clear plan of what you want to do with it. It's not always obvious how to repurpose a bank building because there is no commercial occupier that wants the bank building as is. You know, if you have a restaurant that ceased trading, you know, it's 3 or 4 weeks later, it's trading as a Chinese restaurant. You know, because they just put a new sign on the door, because there's kitchens, ventilation system, everything can be used and repurposed. But with a bank building, when it becomes defunct, there is no commercial occupier that wants that building for what it is right now.
Really, really great tip. And I think the other bit I got from Ranjan,
so you've got to have a clear plan.
Yeah, and the tips you gave were massive about buying properties, if you can, newer ones, 1980s onwards. I got that tip, that was huge. And I think the other bit was, got a good tax advice around capital allowances. Because obviously you bankroll quite a lot of capital allowances in this.
Capital allowances can be good, yeah.
So you get tax-free income.
Yeah.
The one bit that I was going to give it insight on Ranjan, he probably knows this anyway, is about the asbestos that you're talking about. I've got a slightly different approach because I know something called land remediation relief on asbestos. That gives you 150%.
Absolutely.
So it can actually become beneficial because they give you cash back to doing it still.
Yes.
Before Rishi listens to that, I don't know if you get rid of that in Jeremy, but that's a huge incentive because that can change the decision potentially if it's valuable, because otherwise it's not valuable, is it?
You are. I mean, I think you're speaking as a tax guy. Yes, there is 150% allowance. In a safe, it will rarely be worth it, because the asbestos is embedded in the fabric of the safe. It's sandwiched between metals and stuff. It's complicated. Where it's worth it is where, typical example, people have used asbestos roof tiles.
Yeah, definitely.
The roof tiles are solid. You know, they're not going to cause a harm unless they're disturbed, but they're relatively easy to remove. They come off in one piece and all the rest of it, but you get that 150% advantage that you talk about. But removing the asbestos out of an embedded safe is really, really a different ball game, because there's reinforced concrete and you know, thick walls, because they're meant to be drill proof. That's a different ball game.
Really good insight on different scenarios, and he's right about the roof. I've had a few clients who've done that, and it's huge valuable. And it depends on the circumstances. It's getting that evaluation. What's the cost? What is the benefit? Right? And that's where all your bespoke knowledge is being. How much value has he added today? And you've got to see some of the bank job. If you haven't come to Baker Street, you missed a good lot of value, because that knowledge, I know so many people, I can see the light glowing in their head, literally, because it's a light bulb moment, because right now the banks are selling off like nobody's business, aren't they?
And we covered 3 quite different banks in different areas: low value areas, high value areas, areas where you need a premium spec, banks that are quite complicated in terms of their internal structure to repurpose, banks that are a bit more simpler. So we covered quite a few different case studies and scenarios today.
I think another tip you gave to people who are doing the conversions is the standardization. I call it McDonaldization, right? It's true, because you know exactly how they're going to look, therefore you know how to price it, and therefore replicate and do that. That's huge, because you're managing your cost exposure then, aren't you? And most people, this is the area, if you don't mind me saying, they cock it up because they don't know, and then it goes out of budget and out of sync, and they're like, I made a cock up here.
And we've been doing that for a number of years, and this has happened several times in the past. A tenant goes round someone else's house and they say, oh, you've got the same bathroom as us. Oh, the same kitchen tiles as us. Oh, you've got the same floor. Who's your landlord? Oh, right, it's them. Oh, they're our landlords.
But you know the quality, and you know what the
all
rent
the time.
and the maintenance and everything else.
Maintenance is, I've heard nonsense. I mean, I do I'm a judge on the Property Investor Awards, and typically with things like the HMO award, people want to try to do something new. So they've got a 6-room HMO, let's do room 1 in grey, let's do room 2 in green, let's use a different tile here, call them different suite names or something, you know, the Windsor room, the Balmoral room. No one gives a stuff. No one, your tenant is not going to see all 6 rooms or 6 properties. Do them all the same, keep it simple. If a tile needs replacing, you've got a spare box. It's easy for your maintenance people to take care of it and look after it in the future years. That's what's important.
That is huge value, and that's when someone has been doing this for a long time, as you can see. And these are the difference makers, because the compound of all these things that we've given is huge. Ranjan, thank you so much. I know Ishtiaq's enjoyed it as well. That is what a bank job's all about. As everyone knows, the double act, this is another man who gives so much value, Andrew Roberts. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Makes the property meet something special. And he's going to give us a bit of insight for the social media family who love watching all the content. Andrew, as I was talking to Ranjan, it's all about the bank jobs today, right? And the value that you guys have created and blown people's mind with some of the opportunities. Give a bit of insight from your perspective, because you've done some projects. You said you did one in Northampton. So quick insights, the key tips that you must cover.
Make sure it's an inside job whenever you do a bank job. No, seriously, I used to work for the bank and I went and bought several of them. So why not do an inside job on the bank?
So Andrew, he's mentioned he used to work for Nationwide, wasn't it? So you went and bought a Nationwide because he knows the structure inside it. Fantastic. Sorry, Karen, please.
No, I mean, basically learn about the permitted development rights. Make sure anything you buy is backed by that. Don't bank any planning, because that's cream or cherry on top of the cake if you can get it. Plan for black swan events, because one happened when I was doing that particular example I shared. Look at ways you can add extra value.
What do you mean by black swan event for the audience?
Well, black swan is a major event that is a bit random, a bit wild, doesn't happen very often. COVID-19 was the black swan in this case.
Huge.
It could have been exiting from the Brexit vote. That was a black swan event as well. So they're things that really only happen once in a lifetime.
And also, I think one of the other things was Andrew was quite meticulous around the different aspects. You looked at the capital allowances. If there is asbestos, land remediation relief, wasn't mentioned much on it, very important. And actually learning all these different aspects, getting the right specialist around, because you're from a professional background, you know how important having that team is.
Well, we covered that in terms of the panel, where basically when you go and look at a site, take all your experts with you. And what you're going to do when you take your experts with you is you'll probably have your architect, your builder, your accountant, tax advisor there. You'll take a whole panel of people. We take each other around. Ranjan and I will go on each other's sites, or Romy said the same. And we basically give ideas and inspiration and different aspects.
I think he's put in a nutshell, collaboration. Don't be scared, get different views, because knowledge and bouncing a scenario and gives you different solutions to difficult problems. Andrew, unbelievable value, so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I don't know, you flap your jaws, I'll flap mine. Is that how it works?